Hey guys, Alex here. I'm going to make a conscious effort to be a bit slower, be a bit more conscious, be a bit more present with my speaking without doing what I often do, which is to rush through videos and to try and speak too quickly and not allow enough space to come through. And obviously I want to respect your own time, but I want to use this opportunity to be particularly conscious and not overthinking my sort of planning too much and not pre-planning, not having too many thoughts floating about. I want to use this opportunity to kind of demonstrate to you the point that I'm going to be sharing with you in this video, which is that consciousness and being present and connecting yourself to the people and the environments and even your own body is really the antidote to a lot of the suffering that many of us feel. So I've spent a lot of my life in anxiety, in social anxiety. I've been depressed. I've had depression in my teens, and I've been low and up, and I've experienced life like many of you guys have, right? You've experienced a bit of life, the ups and downs, the flows of life. It can be difficult, and I have spent a lot of time reading spirituality books, reading self-help books, reading all kinds of books to help me overcome these things and to help deal with suffering and frustration, and resistance more, and be able to be at ease with life more. And one of the common threads that I have kind of taken on board, and sometimes I've forgotten about it, and sometimes I've remembered to do it, and it's sort of been in and out of my life over the last 10, 15 years, which is the really kind of therapeutic, there's a nice idea about this, and it applies. The idea that all of the resistance that we feel in life is actually a resistance to our own thinking rather than our circumstances. Obviously, if you follow my videos, you know that I talk about this quite a lot. But in being able to better deal with the things that we find difficult in life, the stresses and the anxieties and the tribulations, is to go even a step beyond realizing that the resistance we feel to things is actually a resistance to our own thinking. It goes beyond that, and it's actually to find a way to bring a kind of lightness, a friendliness, even a lovingness to the things that tend to bring us stress or resistance, right? So those people that annoy you, those things in the news, the social gatherings that bring you fear, the interviews that you have trouble with, the public speaking, all of those things that bring resistance in you, or perhaps you had something traumatic happen to you in the past, and every time something similar to that reveals itself to you, you feel anxiety. Or like, for example, with me, like I used to have trouble speaking up in class, and every time I get in a group situation over the last few years, I get nervous around it, and I've always had that impetus, like many of you will, to want to be more at ease in certain situations. And as I said, realizing that the thoughts you have in your head are creating your emotional experience, that's most of the battle right there. If you can see that distinction, that it's your thoughts that's creating your emotional experience rather than the actual circumstance, you're creating a kind of gap between the circumstance and your own well-being. That's really, really helpful. So contemplate that for a bit. But I want to go a little bit beyond this into what might to many of you sound a bit woo-woo and a bit kind of like hippie-esque and a bit kind of airy-fairy flower power, but has been actually, whenever I have remembered to bring it into my life and remembered to incorporate it and thread it through my daily existence, it has been unbelievable. And that is to bring as I said, a kind of a friendliness, a lovingness to the things that stress you out, but also everything. Michael A. Singer, in his book The Untethered Soul, talks about this, that you've got to think abundantly, and you have the ability, you have the potential, you have the opportunity to actually allow an openness to everything around you. Like, you might as well, being a member of this planet and being a member of reality, right? You have the opportunity and you have the ability to be open and to let everything kind of pass through you by being loving towards these things. Even people and situations and issues that are happening in the world that are terrible. Obviously, there are terrible things happening, but by bringing a kind of lovingness to the being that's behind all the label, behind the subjectivity, behind the terribleness that people can do and the terribleness that can happen in the world, you will create a kind of connection with those things. You will be out of your head more often, and you will be able to you're kind of in the process. You're cultivating a genuine, blissful happiness that comes from realizing that you are connected, and that you are not your thoughts, and that those other things are not the labels that you think they are, and that there is a being, a oneness, a spirit that runs through everything. And I know that, again, a little bit woo-woo, a little bit kind of weird to some of you who aren't into the spiritual stuff, and I try to keep this separate to any religious stuff, because for me religion is, again, getting back into labels, and this is how things should be, and my faith is better than your faith, my God is better than your God. So go back to the simplicity of the idea that just simply bringing a kind of lovingness from inside you to everything around you is possible, and by doing that, your experience of reality, your experience of the world is going to be amplified in all the good ways, and it works. I know that that's not the way a spiritual kind of person should speak. This kind of stuff works, but it's all about what you're taking off, right? It's what you're revealing underneath all of these labels and thoughts and these issues that we kind of create for ourselves on the surface. I know that this kind of idea might take a while to kind of absorb, and it might not have been put in the most eloquent way, and I'm sort of chipping my way to a better way of communicating it, but I wanted to get this down on video to some of you guys who are particularly struggling with things. What's at the core of what I'm saying is that you kind of, if you're unhappy, it's because you're trying to get your happiness from out there in the world, right? You're trying to get joy from something, someone else. That is not possible, folks. That's key, because the happiness is something that you can create from yourself, within yourself, that you can project on everything. When you can start judging less and observing the world around you in a kind of loving way, in particular, in a friendly way, like create a smile from the inside and smile at stuff that stresses you out, and smile at everything else as well. You can create energy through not closing up. Right? I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but by allowing yourself to open up and be loving, allowing yourself to not close to those things that you create resistance to in other instances is going to be game-changing for you. Try it. So for example, if you have a meeting coming up with people in your office that you always don't enjoy, and it brings you stress, and you always dread it, and you always get self-conscious when you're in the meeting, and you get annoyed and frustrated with how the boss kind of dominates everyone, whatever it is, go to this with a kind of lovingness. Go to the meeting, prepare for the meeting, or at least approach the meeting with an openness to bringing love to the people around you, to the fact that you're in a meeting, to the sensations you're experiencing. Cultivate joy, and let it infuse everything around that meeting, and see whether that doesn't change things. It's going to be probably quite surprising for you, and that's not just to apply to things that create stress. It's every aspect of life as well. You have access to a tremendous power simply by choosing the root of joy, bringing joy to others, and projecting your own love to the world. When you can do that, then you're going to have love for yourself as well. I want to just put this idea down, and I'm going to be sharing more about this, and the reason I talk about it is because I know that it applies to me so well when I can actually remember to do it. When I bring this stuff in, and I've been doing it for a couple of days more recently, but over the last 5 years I've been doing this stuff on and off, and it's never been for a long enough period to really absorb into my soul. But whenever I've done it, even for a short period, I start to feel lighter. I start to feel the bliss that's actually underneath all of that sort of overthinking. So just try it for yourself. Bring a kind of loving kindness, a kind of friendliness to everything. You have the ability to bring that to everything. See what that does for you. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. I'll be talking more about this. At its core, it's about being conscious. It's about being aware. It's about being present. It's about bringing a smile to things, even the stuff that really annoys you. Just smile, and you'll find tremendous changes and shifts happening. I want to hear more about how it works for you. Do subscribe if you like this, and I'll see you in the next video.